All right, let's dive into it. Harm, the Canucks sure look like they're playing for a tank last night. Some of the plays that we saw from some of these defensemen, whether it be Tyler Myers, Riley Stillman, some of these goals that we saw last night. And by the way, the Canucks come out of this with 1 point, losing in a shootout last night. But man, there are some plays that happened last night in that game against the Predators where you just think and you're like, wow. I don't know which direction you want to go here. It's like, are they really tanking, or are they really in such need to rebuild this defense core that you watch plays by Tyler Myers last night? It looks like his skates had butter on the bottom of them. Riley Stillman with a horrible read off that faceoff. I just felt like that goal that was scored to make it 3-2 for the Preds right after Kuzmenko scores that really beautiful tip in. I mean, an excellent play by Kuzmenko. He's been really good lately under Rick Tocchet. But that just felt like the Preds were just like, all right, we're done like playing around here. We're going to go score a goal here in the final 12 seconds of this period. And they absolutely did. And it was just like they ran right through that Canucks defense like there was nothing in their way.
Well, it's especially frustrating because they did all that and then they score 2 goals late to get the extra point, right? We're on Team Tank here and we're like, ooh, boy, let's go just a couple minutes away from a regulation loss, especially after a win against Philly. See, that win against Philly, even though that was technically a 4-point race in 4-point game for the tank race, I was like, okay, Philly's far enough ahead that, especially when you consider the context of Silov's picking up his first win, Pettersson 5-point night, Kuzmenko scoring, like it was just a fun game, especially Saturday night. You're like, you know, they're not going to lose every single one of their games. So you're like, all right, we can enjoy that, right? But after a game like that, you were just hoping that that they'd get the regulation loss, but they unfortunately didn't. However, you brought it up in terms of the defensive play, and it's been a consistent theme. The one thing that keeps standing out to me about Tyler Myers is it just astounds me, considering his size, how poor he is at defending the front of the net. Like this season, think about how many goals against there have been where it's been off of a rebound and Myers is somewhere around the blue paint and he's just standing there, right? He isn't able to tie up the right person. He isn't able to pick up the loose puck. It's just like sometimes you want to pull your hair out because it's like watching. It's like in the NBA watching a 7-footer who can't rebound. It's like, dude, you're genetically gifted. You've got the size. Like, push somebody out, box out, do something, right? Like, that's how it feels like to watch Myers sometimes play defense in front of his own net. Which, I mean, look, we know Riley Stillman isn't a good player, right? Like, with a lot of these depth guys, we can't really go too hard on them because they simply are what they are.
Right.
It's just tough when it's Myers making $6 million. Although at this point, you're kind of just hoping, ironically enough, considering how much I've just blasted it, you kind of wanted to see it continue just for the sake of the tank, because since January 1st, and this was before the Preds game, so I don't know if it changed things, but the Canucks had the worst point percentage of any team in the NHL, and it was in large part because Myers and OEL were so significantly underperforming relative to where they were last season. And it's just funny to kind of see the Canucks still pull out a point despite that pair really struggling again.
Yeah, I mean, just the plays yesterday. And I see a lot of people in the chat asking, like, can you even trade Myers? Myers made me laugh out loud last night. There was 2 goals where he's behind the goaltender. Like,
he was trying to play goalie on one of them. I think it was the second goal against maybe, or I'm like, he's literally just trying to occupy as much space in the net. It's like he's trying to be Alex Edler out there.
And Colin Delly is like, he was out of position at the start of it, but he's backtracking into the role and trying to get back in the net, and he can't actually get into position because Tyler Myers is behind him.
Honestly, watching him play defense is very entertaining because sometimes, sometimes it'll work too, where it's like he'll have the long stick and he'll like disrupt the passing lane, but then other times it's like the slip and slide on the 2-on-1 that like works 10% of the time. Once earlier this season, I saw like I think it was on the power play. I'm trying to remember what game it was. Maybe it was against the Leafs, but I just vividly remember like a rebound popping out and Myers literally just like laying out like flat, trying to block the shot. I'm like, dude, all the shooter has to do is elevate the puck a little bit. Like, if you're trying to block the shot, shouldn't you like be like going down on one knee or like actually getting in the lane as opposed to like just going down like a log on the ice. Like
Mhm.
some of these moments are interesting. And the other part that the other thing which is sad is that like they're actually like with the puck, Myers can still make plays,
Sure.
right?
For
Like
sure.
he can still skate it. Like he's not a completely useless player, but you'll see that his point totals have really fallen off, and he's only scored 2 goals combined between this season and last season, I believe. And I don't know if you ever noticed this, but there's at least one time almost every game where Myers will jump up in a play and he'll be coming with the puck sort of like down the slot in a spot where he's got time and space to sort of pick a spot. And then he's just got a muffin right into the goalie's crest.
Right.
It's like you like start getting excited because you think he's going to get a scoring chance. And I think honestly, that's a big part of his decline, right? Is like, as much as I have been focusing on the defensive side, and yeah, positionally, there are a lot of mistakes, a lot of net front coverage. A big part of his overall value dropping is that he's not able to translate his skating, his puck handling, his hands, which are pretty good for his size. He's not able to translate that into offense anymore.